British farmers who held a protest in Westminster, a matter of yards away from where I'm sitting right now, with about 70 tractors trawling the streets around the Palace of Westminster. Farmers' main gripe is what they call declining food standards amidst a number of new post-Brexit trade deals, which they say has hurt their industry. But I believe this view is fundamentally misguided. The priority ought to be British consumers, and so cheap food imports can only be a good thing. As long as people know what they're buying and there's proper labelling, the UK spends less as a proportion of salaries on food than most other developed nations. This is beneficial, and our new trade deals continue to help consumers. The real threat to British farmers are the green regulations that attempt to turn agricultural land into wildlife, which ultimately makes British farms uncompetitive. Earlier today, I was joined by Douglas Turner, a British farmer who once again made the journey to Westminster to discuss this important matter.
How are you, Jacob?
Very nice to see you. So you've come up from Wiltshire.
I have, yes.
Good journey in your tractor.
Fantastic journey. It's farming weather.
You didn't come on the M4?
No, we're not allowed on the M4 on these. We would like
be.
to be, but no, something to do with the rules and regulations.
There are always
but
rules
if you're
and
just
regulations.
Stop oil, you can actually sit on there, but we can't go on there with the tractors.
Can't go on there with the tractor. Yes, indeed. It's one rule for them and one rule for everybody else.
Exactly.
So tell me about your campaign.
We want a fairer deal for British farmers. What's happening at the moment, the imports, and partially because of Brexit as well, that food stuff can come in from other countries and we're not making it. The government, unfortunately, are paying farmers to grow wildflowers and wood, trees. You can't eat that though, so we don't need to be doing that all the time. And this makes it probably we want a fairer playing field.
Well, you see, I agree with your request for a fairer playing field. I think farmers have been poorly treated, but I don't agree with you on imports. You see, what we're doing with our tariffs has been protecting Irish, French and Dutch farmers and not allowing people to buy things from our old friends such as Australia and New Zealand. And I think that's a mistake.
Yes.
But I strongly agree with you on fair labelling, because am I right in thinking that food can say made in England, made in Great Britain, made in the United Kingdom, and it's not?
It comes from another country, and because it's packaged here, it looks as though to the public that it actually is homegrown when it's not at all. And the problem is we don't homegrow things, and if I must go back to this woodland part, farmers are paid too much money to grow wood, to have trees put in there, and each time we take an acre of arable land out of production in this country, in the Amazon and places, they have to take down 2.5 acres.
And it seems to me there's a really bad environmental ideology that is hampering British farming, but as you rightly say, not actually helping the environment globally.
No, not at all. And also for us, we have so much legislation that comes out all the time from various government bodies, probably your good self as well, I don't know, and it hinders us. You know, we have the Prime Minister saying he's got our back. We have the other ministers saying that they've got our back as well in the farming. But the only reason they got our back is because they're pushing us out of farming and we won't be farming in this country anymore. We cannot import everything. We must be able to have our homegrown stuff because we farm it better. Nobody farms it better than us.
I noticed that farmers in my constituency in Somerset that can compete fairly do really well. They have done all the right things. They've invested. They have added value by completing the production chain. They've set up farm shops. But that regulation and reward for not farming is just a huge burden on the backs of farmers.
It's too much. To be paid to actually have trees in there and not to actually have food is a bad thing, because if we import too much and they have a bad harvest in those countries, what's going to happen? They won't have food to come to us, and it's going to be very expensive for us as well.
And the other issue is environmental regulations. Again, in my own constituency, dairy farmers have been saying to me that the new regulations on slurry pits are requiring them to make enormous investments with not necessarily any financial support from the government, which is going to put our dairy industry out of business. And we have some of the best dairy land in the world.
Well, exactly. Well, further down in Cornwall, in the year 2000, they used to have 1,200 dairy farms. They've only got 400 now. They've lost 67% of it. So why is this happening?
Well, it seems to me it's regulation. This comes back to my starting point. I think that British farmers can be globally competitive. And I think you can compete on price and quality, and that people will buy British food and they will need British food. I wouldn't have tariffs and barriers against imports. I would insist on fair labelling, so you know where it's coming from, or you even know if it's been hormone treated. That should be a choice for consumers. It shouldn't be a choice for the state. But that you have your hands tied behind your back with regulation.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The problem we suffer most of the time is that you have the townies and the city dwellers making up the rules for the custodians of the countryside, and that's the farmer.
Douglas, thank you very much, and a safe journey back to your farm.
Thank you very much. Go on in, Jacob.
Let's go for a drive. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this.